Hi guys, I'm here. I'm in Canada. I'm in Vancouver specifically. I arrived last night, but let me tell you, I've had quite a journey to get here and I can't quite believe everything that happened. But anyway, let me try and do a brief, I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. So my flight was at 2:30 from Heathrow to Calgary, and then I have a connecting flight from Calgary to Vancouver. Anyway, the first thing, my flight to Calgary was delayed by an hour and a half, so I was already feeling a bit anxious that I wasn't going to make my connecting flight. The flight itself was fine, it was about 9 hours, and I just watched a couple of films and tried to sleep, but I never usually sleep on planes. Anyway, I made it to Calgary, that was fine, and they said you don't have to do anything with your luggage, we'll put it on the next flight because it's the same airline, etc, etc. So I thought, okay, great, I just have to go through security and then I can just chill out until my next flight. Went to security and they have the big electronic screens where you fill out your immigration information, like why you're visiting, how long you're visiting for. So I did all that, but because I've only booked a one-way flight, because I don't know how long I'm staying in Canada, I kind of want to travel around and I don't know where my airport where I want to fly home from or if I want to travel on somewhere else. So my tourist visa, I have a tourist visa and I'm allowed to stay in Canada up to 6 months, which is fine, so I have my visa. And because I didn't know how long, I thought I'll put the full amount, 6 months, just in case, because I didn't want to put like a month and then end up staying longer in case that caused issues and stuff. So I'll just put 6 months and then that gives me that amount of time, just in case. That was my thinking. They printed off a little receipt and it had all the information on it, and I went into the queue and the border security said, okay, you go this way. I was like, oh, okay. And I thought maybe it's because I'm a UK citizen, I have to go on a different route. Then I got stopped by the security, the border security police, and he started asking me a lot of questions. Why am I staying? Why am I here? Who am I staying with? How long am I here for? How much cash am I carrying? All these kind of typical questions, and I was really starting to panic at this point. So I answered, and I genuinely am just coming to travel. And then he kind of like marked a bit of paper and he said, okay, you go this way now. And I thought, great, we're done. Phew. Okay, so that's added a bit extra time. It's going to be a bit tighter to make my connecting flight, but we can still do it. Then I went through exit doors and I thought, great, I'm going to go to security and then catch my flight. I started walking down the corridor he sent me and it was immigration investigations. So to cut a long story short, I was investigated by Canadian immigration for about an hour and they asked me every possible question you can think of. All the basics. Why am I coming to the country? How long am I staying for? What am I planning to do? They went into all my bank accounts, they asked to see how much money I had saved, they asked for all like contacts, people I'm staying with, why am I travelling alone. Then they got my suitcase, so my suitcase wasn't on the flight. They took my suitcase off the flight, they went through all the stuff in my suitcase, my backpack, they asked me why I'd packed specific things, why this, if I'm only meant to be staying this long, you know, like they were like building a story in their minds, and at this point I was really panicking. I'm not good in these situations at all. I can't imagine many people would be if they're being questioned by immigration, but these people, let me tell you, I'm quite a friendly, chatty, upbeat person when I'm talking to people, and I was trying to be that way, but they were not having any of it. They were very like cold-faced, not interested, to the point, like I get why they have to be like that because there are people that try and scam the system, but genuinely they could see I was in distress. After all the immigration investigation, everything was finished, I did actually ask the security guy, you know, is it because I didn't have an onward ticket? And he said, actually, a lot of people, he's like, we don't expect you to have an onward ticket because obviously people are traveling and stuff. He said, but you did have a lot of flags because you you're a female, you're traveling alone, you're coming for 6 months, and the main thing that seemed to be the issue was the amount of time I was coming for. And I said, oh, that's really weird, why is that? And he said, well, because we get a lot of people that are coming here to like do prostitution and sex work, and also people that come to illegally live with their boyfriends, girlfriends, partners, and so that's their main flag. So yeah, it wasn't even so much the flight that I didn't have a return flight. But yeah, I don't know if it's that strict everywhere or if it's just Canada in general, or I don't know. I've never had that experience because usually I do have a return flight. I never had any issues in Korea. I stayed in Korea for the full time of my visa that I was allowed, and there was no issues. I never got questioned anything. So yeah, I don't know whether I was just unlucky. I have friends who travel to Canada, all over Canada, and they don't have return flights. They've never had an issue, but yeah, I don't know. So maybe something to be aware of if you are a solo female traveller. After an hour, all the questions, everything, he finally cleared me and said that I could enter the country. Phew. So I had to repack all my bags, and then I had to obviously check my bags again because they hadn't been taken onto the flight. And obviously the place to check them was miles away at the opposite side of the airport. Time's ticking, my connecting flight is due, and I was running, I couldn't breathe. Honestly, it was one of the most stressful experiences of my life. Seriously. I made it to the terminal, the gate, just in time, and then they announced that the flight was delayed. And I suppose if you want to try and see the bright side, you're like, okay, my flight was delayed. That's good if you're running late, but I didn't know that until I was literally in the gate. So we sat for an hour in the terminal, and then eventually we started boarding. We got on the flight, and it was a domestic connecting flight from Calgary to Vancouver, so it's a tiny little plane. It was like an hour-long flight. But anyway, we sat on the runway, and then the captain said, we can't take off. We've got to sit here for an hour. So we then sat on the plane on the runway for an hour before we took off. And at this point, I've been travelling for about 25 hours, 26 hours. I haven't eaten since the morning when I left London. I haven't slept. I'm completely overwhelmed. I feel terrible. I just thought I just can't take anymore. So I got on my flight. It was fine. The flight was fine. We landed in Vancouver, and I went to collect my luggage, and I waited in the carousel, going round and going round, and I thought, I have a bad feeling about this. My heart was starting to I just feel something is off with this. My luggage has an ear tag, so I didn't want to check it, but I checked where the ear tag was, and sure enough, my luggage was still in Calgary. I thought, well, that's pretty standard for the day I'm having today. So I went, by this point it's like 10 o'clock at night, it's really late, and I went to lost luggage, and the lady was really lovely, she was really helpful, and she said, actually I can see they've put your bag on the next domestic flight, so they do have it. I was like, oh, great. And she's like, it's actually going to land in about 5 minutes if you want to wait and see if it comes on the carousel. So I thought, sure, why not, I'm already here, it's already super late, you know. So I waited, and yes, my luggage arrived. But they'd broken my luggage, so the whole bottom of it was smashed, the wheel was broken off, so I couldn't roll it, and it was 23 kilos, and I just thought, yep, seems about right. And anyway, the thing that I want to try and say, this was like one of the most, travelling is stressful anyway. I mean, I find travelling quite stressful. I don't know about you guys, maybe some people enjoy it, but I find it quite stressful. Plus I was exhausted, and I'm in a country I've never been to before, everything's different, but I really feel like this was the universe testing me. I really feel like, let's see how she's gonna respond in these situations. Sorry, there's a lot banging outside. Yeah, I really feel like the universe was testing me to kind of see, like, how's she going to respond in these situations? Is she going to go back to her old self, who would have had a complete meltdown? Not a meltdown in that I would have been angry at anyone else, but I just mean like I would have been completely overwhelmed. Or would I, you know, learn from everything I've been kind of working on this last year and just see it as that's life, like just accept it. In these situations, there's nothing you can do about it. So, you know, you have a choice. Do you want to get super stressed and worked up about it and take it out on other people, or do you just want to be like, that's the way it is, there's nothing I can do about it, and just have to accept it? And I really did try and do that, and kind of just accepted my fate, I guess. I was just like, look, all this stuff is happening, it's gone wrong, it's gone wrong, it's gone wrong, but like it'll work out, you know, it'll work out somehow. So yeah, eventually I made it to my Airbnb. I'm staying in, I'm not really sure how to say it, Swasson. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And I have my ferry to catch to Galliano Island in about an hour. But yeah, I took a little walk into town and looked around, and this is my first time in Canada, and yeah, so far it's lovely. It's really beautiful. The streets all look like you know, what you see in films. The houses are huge. I've never seen houses so big in a street. The place I'm staying in, my Airbnb, is kind of a suburban area, and then there's a little town centre. And I went out this morning. I haven't eaten for 24 hours. So I went and got myself a tea and like a breakfast roll, and it was, because I haven't eaten for so long, it was the best tasting thing ever. So I was really grateful for that. And yeah, I'm gonna head to Galliano Island, and I will update you when I get there. It looks really beautiful, and I need some time to chill in nature. But yeah, it's been quite an experience. It's been a really good learning experience for me. As stressful as it was, I kind of appreciate it all happened, because I can see how my reactions have changed as to what they would have in the past. Anyways, I will speak to you guys soon.